Tu dis-tu mon coco? Ça va les cuisiner. Tu n'es pas obligé d'être cuisine, tu peux être toute cute. Tu peux te coucher ici avec moi. Les picots. Ouais. Et c'est un petit chat. Capro, propro. C'est bon. C'est bon, c'est bon. C'est cosy. Oh, c'est l'autre talent, on s'en fout de l'autre talent. C'est minute. Ma minette. Là, c'est le petit l'autre talent. Oui, c'est cute. Hi guys. Hi on horseback. Hi Lise. Hi Gwen. Hi Son. Hi Fairy Dust. Hi Mikey. Hey Otto. Otto. Pico is there. Hey Marla. Hi. Yeah. Oops. Sorry. Stretching a bit. Before starting. Is that an 18 pan set from Schminke? This one is 18 half pan. And this one is 18 full pan. Whoop. These are the fancy sets that came with the super fancy box. Hey Francis, hi. Hey Nicole, hi. Happy Caturday. I have quite a few square tins from Schminke by now. And I even got my eyes set on another one. Oh, by the way, if you guys are familiar with Recollet, she just released new sets of her art supplies. If that was something you were interested in getting. They just became live like at the same time as the live stream, so 5 minutes ago. It's a bit expensive, but if that was something you were waiting for. I'm just gonna be off screen for a bit just to fully stretch my drawing arm because it's kind of hurting. But it's good in a really familiar way. Hey Dan! As everything in that darn vault of hers, yeah. That's the whole idea for the bolts vault thingy. That was my vault is full of art supplies. Hey Phoebe, hi. Paint life goals. It's many lifetimes actually. Multiple lifetime goals. must have slept badly on my drawing arm, or well, regardless, must have slept badly because it's all stuck under the clavicle. That's something that I have quite often, and it's super annoying. So I'm just gonna stretch a bit. So I figured I was gonna try and draw a bit of like what I did last week, using my phone and something like Pinterest. Just because it's good practice, and it doesn't really require much creative juice, so it's a really good option if you are art stuck in a rut or something, or if you are too overwhelmed by life events, which is a bit of my situation right now. I'm feeling okay. Thank you for asking. I think the way I would put it is that I feel fine most of the time because I forget. I tend to forget, and then when something brings back memories of what the new reality is, that's when I get really sad. So yeah, it's kind of a weird place to be in mentally. But let's just clear all the notification on my screen and open up Pinterest. Like, people would probably tell you to not use Pinterest because these are not copyright-free images, but whenever I'm doing practice, it's not like I'm gonna sell these or anything, so I just don't really bother. I just do, like, I mean, it's for practice. I'm not gonna... the most I will do with these is do a sketchbook tour when I'm done with the sketchbook, and it's mostly gonna be about the performance of the sketchbook, so the stuff I put in there is not exactly relevant. And thank you guys for the well wishes. I really appreciate it. I mean, support has been out of this world supportive, so I'm really, really glad for that. It's just so weird to be in this situation where there's literally nothing to be done, or it's not really a situation that can be helped. So I try to keep distracted. That's mainly what I do. And yeah, when I get thrown a memory, I go hug either a cat, Mochi, or Mr. E. So, and I eat pastries because, you know, pastries. Yeah, that's the roller coaster of sorrow. That's pretty much it. The cats are doing well. You can see that Pico has sort of face planted. Scout is probably bothering Mr. E by now. T'as-tu Scout avec toi? Yeah, she went to see her. Aww. She went to see her papa. Yeah, exactly, Nicole. That's kind of the thing, that it's really difficult to just adjust to the new reality. Like, I was looking forward, even with all the drama and all that, like I was looking forward to my yearly visit for all the traditional stuff Mom and I would do, and now I'm like, oh yeah, that I don't think that can roll as it did before. So yeah. Anyway, Otto says, I might actually sketch with you. Oh, awesome! Yay! Yeah, I can show you guys what I did the first time last week, actually, I did this. You remember, the idea was to look for strawberries and then doodle a bunch of stuff with strawberries. And what I really like of these is that there's really no pressure to do anything but just try to have fun with whatever reference. So it's not accurate. It's not like angles everywhere, and it's just for fun. And I did a few more. I did a couple of peaches. I did blueberries, and it's really just about having fun and not really. I did a couple of swatches just to see, and I did some vegan ramen. I did this one yesterday. And I mean, it's full of mistakes and it's just for practice, but it's kind of fun and really, really it's just a good like quiet activity to do. Anything that will soften the edges, time and support. Absolutely. Oh, hey Alex, hi. I am eating and then I'll maybe be painting some minis. Oh yeah, we have great pastries. The local place we used to go finally reopened. I mean, I would have been fine if they'd stayed closed. I mean, it's like being safe is the key factor here. Hey Melissa, hi. But yeah, they decided to open, and they set it up so that it has super limited contact and the distancing is there. Like, I've been really impressed by how people around here, like the companies, they really care about this stuff. They really set it up with like protectors and distancing, and it's not like free for all and just like usual. So I'm really appreciative of that. And yeah, we went a couple of times to get pastries there because they might be a bit expensive, but they are absolutely delicious. So and yeah, I mean, sugar is definitely something that will better your mood, even if, I mean, I think it's just chemical at this point. You cannot really go against it. Hey, Amisha! I'm glad you guys like the ramen. Oh yeah, the date is actually really practical because when you get to a point where you have a bunch of sketchbooks and they kind of all look the same, then you can go back in there and say, oh, okay, that's when I painted this. It's been really useful for my other sketchbook whenever I scroll through them and I'm like, oh, I don't remember when I did this, and then I'll stumble upon a page where I stamped the date or wrote the date, and I'll be like, oh yeah, cool, glad I did. Okay, so what food am I drawing today? Pinterest is decidedly not showing me images of food. This is, no, the stupid Hershey new candy bars are not food. Sorry, I blanked out for a second. I'm sorry. I completely spaced out. Yeah, so I'm so glad we have a cat cam today too. Peko, don't go. Oh, if you've been really wanting to see a beautifully rendered peach, I'm not sure I'm the person for it. I don't really do rendering all that well. Fruit tarts are really colorful. Okay, I'll start by searching for fruit. That's always a good place to start. I don't know why fruits are a lot more fun to paint than veggies. Grapes. Ooh. Okay, let's see. Fruit salad. I don't understand putting... okay, I got distracted by something that looked delicious. I'm not a big fan of pomegranate in my fruit salads because the hold on, the seed in the middle is so bitter. So either you struggle around it for like half an hour, or you bite through the seeds and it's really bitter and kind of defeats the purpose of a delicious fruit salad. A dessert treat. Ooh. Oh, a donut. Mmm. Yeah, I know Pico is being a donut, but painting a donut could work too. Dude, I don't want to see fruit salads. Oh my gosh, no. Ah. It's either things that look delicious or things that look really gross. Pinterest doesn't have a middle ground. It just has this one or the other. And like some people are like way too into this. I'm not. Ew. Ew. No, doesn't look tasty. Okay, this is not working. Alright. Let's look for pies then. Maybe fruit pies. Fruit, because I don't want to paint a meat pie. Hey Malvina, hi. Hey Susan, hi guys. It's been a really, really slow start, so you haven't missed anything. A really cheesy grilled cheese cut in half would look cool and be that cool colored orange as well. That's true, and you have all the melty cheese. It's really not that easy to find good references because people either crop up the pictures really close, like it's a close-up and you're like, yeah, that doesn't leave me a lot to reference, or it's just stuff that doesn't look very tasty. So I'm kind of stuck. Okay, maybe I will try Google instead. And yeah, this is a dalgona coffee that I'm forgetting about. We watched Deadpool 2 yesterday and it was really, really funny. That's it. That's all I have to say. What my old recipe book called petit fours, those little fondant coated decorated cakes. We usually call petit fours the ones you serve at Christmas, like all the things in those phyllo pastry. You know, that's gonna be like cheese and spinach, or cheddar and bacon, or something like that. They're a sandwich we lovingly call the Big Chungus, a bacon double cheeseburger, good grief. But in lieu of buns, it's between two grilled cheese sandwiches. Oof. Oh, good God, how can you even finish that? Oh no. Oh, don't do that. That hurts my brain because the set I want is not available. Okay, let's try this one. That kind of looks good, right? Petit fours are the cakes you eat with coffee tea after a meal here. Oh, really? I think we call them tea cakes. To be super original. Oh, good grief. Big Chungus to celebrate freedom. Big Chungus to break the jaw again. No. I know there's another one that like is between donuts or between some other silly things that are not burger buns. Yeah, it is pre-order only if you're in the UK. You cannot pre-order if you're outside of the UK, which is a bit stressful. I know I'm always overstressing things, and then they're like, they go on sale like long after, and I'm like, But yeah, it has happened way too often that I see something and then I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna wait. I don't need it right now, and then it's gone and I never see it again, and it's a bit of a. I don't know if that would count as a trauma, but it's not a good memory of that kind of situation. I've only done it once. I think I tried a second time at some point, but my baby brother helped me finish that. Ugh. He's about to turn 18. Oh yeah, he can use all that extra energy. We are old! Seriously, he's built like a wall though. His shoulders are 1.5 the width of mine. Oh yeah, limited edition too. That's words that I both hate and love. It's limited edition. It's like, no, but yes, but no, but yes again. Crud. They know what they're doing, Schminke, with their darn limited editions. Do you have to have a UK billing address or just a delivery address? I don't know. We're not all A++ at impulse control, dude. Now, what is that thing in there? Okay, what is in that pie, though? Because there's something orange in there, and I'm like, Oh, of course, what an excellent idea to mow the non-existent lawn, of course. Blah, 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 blah. Dude. I'm not a big fan of food blogs. Like, shut up. Oh my god, so many ads too. What is wrong with you? I just want to know what's in there. Where's the bloody recipe? Oh no, it has I don't know what it's called, but in French we call them cerises de terre. And it's those yellow orangey fruits that are wrapped around kind of a paper thin sort of lantern shaped thing. Can you still hear me with the beautiful lawn mowing action? I have friends who literally drink heavy cream to try to keep their weight. It's amazing. Dude. If it's just a delivery address. Yeah, I will keep that in mind. Thank you so much, Otto. Hey, Dominic, hi. Where's your... Wait, where's the recipe? Where is it? I don't care about all that freaking nonsense. Where's the... Ah. Oh, I think she doesn't even put in the recipe, the actual recipe in there. She just links to other parts, other posts that have... Oh wait, get the recipe. Like it was in the beginning and I missed it because I'm dumb like that. Oh, I don't care why it works. Shut up. Okay, so it's plum, apricots or nectarines and adds pitted cherries, fresh blueberries, blackberries or raspberries. 4 ounces Cape gooseberries, currants or fresh cranberries. Dude, that's a lot of random stuff in there. Oh yeah, physalis, that's it. It's probably like a gooseberry because that's what she has in there. But you know, it's kind of like this shape, and in there you have like a round orangey fruit, and it tastes really gross, and it's a bit like a tomato. Blech. Oh, they're gnarly. Alex. Oh, you mean one of those food blogs where it's like, let me tell you how my great-grandmother passed this recipe down to my grandmother on her wedding day, then grandma passed it down to my mom on... Yeah, Otto, exactly. Or like, you know, it starts waxing about... Oh, when the end of school is... It's like the freedom and blah 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 and... This is why I buy most of the stuff. Good gosh. I can't. Oh, okay, hold on. And then grandma passed it down to my mom on the day she gave birth to me, but then my best friend from Singapore told me this amazing secret ingredients. Yeah, exactly. And then it goes on and goes on and goes on, and you're like, where is the recipe? Because let's face it, that's why I'm here. I mean, we all have our own like family recipes, of course. Like it's at one point or the other, something becomes a family recipe, even if it doesn't technically comes from family to begin with. Like the classical thing. But I always feel kind of really self-conscious when I try to share food recipes, because I'm like, we all have different tastes, and it has happened to me quite often to try a recipe that I saw online and it was just not good, and it didn't feel good. Like while I was making it, I was considering the ratio of stuff in there, and it was all like, oh, there's kind of a lot of this spice that I don't really like. So like it's never going to be perfect. You still have to adjust to your liking. Like if something has sorry about that. If something has a spice in there that you hate, you gotta be able to substitute it with something you'll enjoy. Phoebe says, or like when I tried making a sugar-free, low-carb cheesecake and the writer raved about how good it is and then it sucked. Dude, exactly. That has happened to me so much. There's a couple of food bloggers that I can't stand. And they have like recipe books, and I get triggered whenever I see those stupid books at the at the library. Like I kind of want to turn them around and hide the front cover. One of them is How She Glows. She had a recipe for fudge, and it was disgusting. No, the important part is the magic. Lee says, sometimes I feel like reading a food blog is like trying to listen to someone telling me about one of their dreams in detail. I guess I kind of want to care, but I don't. Yeah. Oh, that's what I do. Like, I tweak it because I know, but it's kind of difficult to... It's something you learn through making a couple of recipes that didn't turn out to be like the blogger described, you know. I mean, we all should do that. Whenever I do recipes, I try to adjust, but let's say you're not someone who has cooked a lot and you really want to do a recipe you saw on a blog and you don't really know about the ratio of stuff and how to manage it and all that. So you just follow the recipe exactly, and then it turns out it tastes like not good. And you're left wondering, wait, is it something I did wrong? But no, it's not. It's just a recipe that was really catering to the taste of that specific blogger. I mean, not all recipes are for everyone. Hey, welcome to Kaboo. I sometimes watch Pioneer Women just to put me off butter and cheese. Her recipes are overloaded with fat and sugar. Blah. Is she a bit like, oh, I can't think of her name. There's an American TV chef that deep fries everything. But yeah, even Gordon Ramsay sometimes is a bit off-putting with the way he cooks stuff. Just because it's like it's really stuff that are for people who don't have any food problems. So it's always stuff like, oh, well, it does look good, but dude, I absolutely cannot eat that, so... Oh no, I don't want to check that stupid recipe again. Thank you. I can usually have the amount of sugar in any recipes and then it's edible. That's a fair point. No, it's not Ina Garten, it's an American chef. I think Ina Garten is British, isn't she? She's an older lady by now. But yeah, she deep fries everything. I am drawing a fruit pie. Just a touch of olive oil like 20 times. Yeah. Although I do swear by Jamie Oliver's roast chicken recipe. I will never offer you any of my lavender custard then. Well, I couldn't eat it on account of having cream in it. I mean, I'm all for tasting stuff that will completely shut down your arteries. Like, trying out stuff is fine, but yeah, I cannot have dairy really, so that's kind of a no-brainer at this point. Oh, it's Paula Deen. Yes! Yes, Nicole, that's exactly it. A really embarrassing crush. Oh, it's on Guy Fieri. Aw. Yeah, Polydine. That's the one I was thinking of. Deep fry everything. Dude, I think there was a bit of a kerfuffle about her because she is in a place where she has health issues now that could be directly linked to the food she eats and makes, and people were unsure about the how proper it would be to have a chef that like pushes recipes that made her ill in a way. If that's, I might be paraphrasing a bit too much, but I think that was the gist of it. Guy Fieri kind of looks like Sonic the Hedgehog. Oh no, no shame. I mean, I think he's a bit of a character in the sense that I think is really big with for shirts with flames on them, and he has a really specific hairdo. But I feel like that's just part of the character. Like, it's not a good or a bad thing. It's just a thing. YouTube chefs is a really good way to learn stuff because they do it in front of you. So you get to see the like it's a lot clearer. I don't know, maybe not for everyone, but I know that for me I prefer to see the thing than read about it. Like, I will learn much better that way. And it's kind of how I got to the point where I'm able to make a decent-ish sushi roll now. It's because I watched a lot of sushi making videos on YouTube. So you just you observe and you absorb, and that's the part that's sort of really interesting. Oh my gosh, there's not even grass out there. Can you just find yourself a hobby for Pete's sake? No, I gotta mow my lawn. Brr. It's gonna be the season where I ramble about how much I hate grass. On the regular. Bloody freaking grass. Stupid, the most stupid of all the ground covers out there. I hate it. I hate grass. Grass is dumb. Grass is stupid. Grass is super ill adapted to... Oh, good gosh. This is a really recurring mentality of people unable to accept that something that they might have been able to say when they were younger is now not acceptable. And you cannot just say, well, it used to be okay then. And it's like, yeah, but no, it's not. And when are we? We are now. So, dude, stop it. Good grief. Yeah, it's either people mowing the lack of grass, are people watering the grass, which is just as stupid. Ugh, I hate it so much. It's dumb, stupid, crappy. I mean, I'm okay with grass if it's part of a range of things. Like, if you have a couple of seeds of grass in a handful of all the other things, like clover, you know, all the really short sort of soil plants that they're trying to promote as alternative to grass nowadays, and that people don't seem to grasp that it would be a really good idea to switch to those. But no, it's grass, and I hate grass. Grass is dumb. I mean, like it's kind of like with every monoculture, like having only grass in the lawn is really silly, because the moment it's dry, there's nothing to help it survive. Alice says, I like my parents' lawn. It's full of awesome, pretty plants. It's only like 50% grasses, and it is so soft. It sounds great. I like my dad's lawn, well, the backyard, because it's basically like a bit of grass, a lot of moss, and clovers, or, you know, whatever. And it barely needs to be mowed because it doesn't grow really tall. And when are we? We are now. Sounds like a protest movement. Boredom management during quarantine. I love moss. I'm all for moss. I agree. I have my grass as moss and dandelions. That sounds great, Susan. I haven't been on my dandelion rampage this year yet. But yeah, I don't like it. I don't like grass. It's stupid. We have an homeowner association. Ugh. That's not something I look forward to dealing with. Do you necessarily have... I don't think my parents had a homeowner association. Oh, really? So Amisha says, my lawn is green, good enough. How high it is. Who cares? But boy, howdy do they. Average height cannot exceed 8 inches or 20.5 centimeters. Or they will do and charge you $250 per... I hope that's per offense and not per square feet or something nasty like that. Oh my gosh. Mosses and lichen are... yeah, I love mosses. Mosses are great. Ugh. Oh my gosh. Per mowing. Ugh. It's like, I don't even want you to moan. Go away. Moan. Mow? Yeah, moan. I don't think moan is the word I'm looking for. Moan is the sound... well, it's more like a disgruntled sound whenever they show up and you're like, oh no. I think it's so stupid. Melissa says, in my area, the government will pay up to 75-80% of cost for people to transform their lawn into a bee butterfly garden. Okay, I know where I want to move. Amisha says, I would plant my entire backyard in wildflowers if I could. I would too. I think you have to be a bit careful because it might lead to having... like, it's gonna be a habitat for mice and small rodents, so if that's possibly an issue, that's something to keep in mind. But otherwise, I'm absolutely in agreement of that. Hey, Paulo! So nice to see you. Yeah, I am using 36 colors today because I can. I'm just too lazy to switch sets. I kind of had forgotten how creamy and easy to wet schminky paints are. Don't ask me how I managed to forget that, but I kind of did. And then I took out these sets and I was like, oh, yeah, now I remember, okay. I want horses in my fantasy garden. Aw. Finally nice enough to open the windows, and it's lawnmower man out there. There are not any duplicates in those sets because they came with the super fancy wooden box. So they kind of made it so that there wouldn't be any overlap of colors. It's a really complete selection of colors. It's not available in any way unless you put it up by yourself now, but I was doing work where I couldn't think of a single palette that might cover everything because I didn't know what colors I would use. It was kind of a study of another painting, like to figure out what colors were used in the painting. So I had no idea of like, it's not when I paint something I usually have an idea of the colors I want to use in the painting. But to study another painting, I was like, I don't know which palette is going to be better suited to that. And then I thought about it and I was like, oh, I could just grab these two palettes and they kind of cover everything I might need. So I would be prepared to figure out what I need, like, on the fly. Oh, thank you so much for being here, Mikey. Say hi to your son for us. And I hope you have a great time, if possible. So this paper is not very absorbent. It's not great for layers. Like you can work with them, but you gotta keep in mind that they will probably pick up whatever is underneath, so gotta be careful about that. I had a friend with goats, they basically ate the starch shed. Oh, good grief. Ethel says, did you guys see the guy in the parking lot who encounters a goat and a llama? It's pure light. It is so funny. I'm kind of bummed that the story doesn't come with an explanation as to what those guys were doing there. Like, I was expecting some sort of conclusion to it, and there is none, and I was like, but where did they come from? How? This is Stillman and Byrne beta series, kind of wire bound. It doesn't buckle a lot. It takes like ink and wash okay, but it's not like if you use a lot of water or a lot of layers, you gotta be careful. I want cats. Oh, okay, so Otto says, oh, the guy rang his dad, who happened to know who they belonged to. So the guy goaded them back to their pen nearby. Oh, awesome! Yay! Oh, great! The guy is so happy about. I mean, I would be pretty surprised to see those two. But that's great. That's really great. Video is the word that was sort of missing in my brain. You got a Twitter from Jackson's, Paulo. Sing the palettes. Yeah. Yeah, the Schminke palettes. No. We all want the Schminke palettes. But it's only for UK-based people. Well, for now, for the pre-order, but I'm guessing when they get some in stock, it's gonna be for everyone. I hope. Please. You cannot do that to us, Schminke. Come on. Come on, we love you. No, why? Okay. I the only one who don't want the palette? Possibly. That's possible, Otto. It's always the kind of situation where it's between want and need. I don't think anyone needs that palette, but it's really nice. And it's finally a tin that's not, you know, that's not like black. I don't understand why they don't have tins with like cats on them, or you know, those would sell so well. How hard is it to print something else than freaking black paint? It's so boring. Oh, I think it's just not your jam, Otto. That's fine. What I'm loving of the palette is that it comes with full pans, so that's easier on brushes. And I love that it comes with a cyan, magenta, yellow triad, mainly. And then you have a bunch of extra colors that are quite fun and not your usual, you know, burnt sienna and... I didn't check. I hope it's ultramarine finest in there. Hey, Sterling! I would love that. I mean, to have palettes that have artists' paintings on them. That's like a double winner. Like, you just win with that. It's like, not only does it help a fellow artist that has their work on it, which is like amazing, but it's also much nicer than plain black paint. And if people for some mean and obscure reason don't like the artwork, they can always cover it up, but the black paint is just sad. If it was white, I don't know, we could paint stuff on it, but black, bleh. Amisha, if you want to get gouache, I might suggest that you get just a tube of white gouache first, and you use all your regular watercolor and gouache. I've seen many artists that do that, and the thing with gouache that perhaps people don't necessarily realize is that the fact that it's gouache doesn't guarantee the opacity. Some pigments are transparent no matter what, so even if you get them in gouache, they're not going to be fully opaque or opaque at all. So the advantage of having white gouache is that you can get that opacity when you come to the sort of more pale colors, because you mix them with white. But that would also be the gouaches that are the most opaque, because gouache is basically watercolor. I mean, it's not a whole new thing. So if you want to try out gouache, get a good tube of white gouache like M. Graham and use your watercolor with it and test it out that way. See how you like it. I don't have many schminke tubes. Oh, it's ultramarine violet. I don't know why. I thought it was ultramarine blue, and I was like, again. At least this is a good one. But ultramarine violet, ooh, fudge, that's even more interesting. Oh, I mean physical life cat. They obviously need one if they haven't been putting cats on them already. I know, right? Come back! Come on! Otto is not it in person, yeah. I'm not super big on tins, but they're still the most convenient thing you can get, just like easily, and they're kind of okay, but it's mostly because I haven't found like the one palette. You have the one ring, and somewhere there is the one palette, and I haven't found it. I don't know what it is, so I struggle a bit. I think it would be something like a plate that you can leave your paint blobs on that, but it would also need a cover so it doesn't get too dusty or covered in cat hair, and also fit on my table but have kind of enough room for me. So yeah, I haven't found it. I'm not sure it exists, but that's kind of why I'm sticking with pans at the moment. I mean, at least they have enough mixing space, or somewhat. I love the color selection, yeah. So Amisha says, I had thought about doing that, but wasn't sure if it would be the same thing so much. I seriously recommend going that way first, just to test it out. And then you'll be able to see if you like it enough. Because, yeah, the thing is with gouache, a gouache like quinacridone red in gouache is not going to be super opaque. It's going to be quite transparent. Same for a lot of the yellows. So you don't get guaranteed opacity with gouache, and it's gonna pick up like watercolor. It's gonna, it's gonna be kind of a handful to manage as well. Are you sure you're not super big on tins? I love tins. I think the thing is, I love tins. I don't quite love pans. I think that's what I meant. Because yeah, oh my gosh, I love tins. This is like, I think this is my ideal way to transport paints, because if you drop it, if you bump it, it's not gonna break. It's super like, it's gonna take a lot of abuse. And yeah, it's fine. I think I meant like the pans are what bothers me. I would really love like a kind of a set like this, but instead of having pans in it, it's slanted wells. But like a smaller palette, not the big slanted wells palette. Sorry. Yeah, oh my gosh, I love tins. If you'd seen my place, you would know what that means. I keep tins of everything. I store things in them. It's the pans that are really annoying. If there was a way to have like a customizable slanted wells in there, say you want a really big one because this is a color you use a lot and you tend to use a big brush in it, then you can sort of clip in a big pan, and then you can clip smaller ones in there depending on what you need. They had something interesting going on with the ceramic insert palette, but it's not ideal either, because it kind of doesn't leave you a lot of room for. I think it might work better if you use two paints in the wells instead of pans, but What I may really want is the ability to paint over mistakes. Yeah, acrylic gouache might be something that works, because that's gonna dry permanent and you can't re-wet it. So that's like, you can't really have anything that's more about correcting mistakes than that. Oh no, don't take me to the page again. I wanted to make a video on a certain type of paint, but I haven't been around to it because it's kind of a long video. But if you want to try inexpensive matte, like something like acrylic gouache, but that's really inexpensive, check out the Deco Art Americana colors. They are really quite nice, and they're like $1 or $2 per bottle. So you can get a few bottles for like, I mean, you can get 5 colors for $10. That's quite manageable. I didn't see your link, Susan. I think you have to be a moderator to post links on the chat. No, it's not a new Schminke set. It's the set from the big fancy wooden box. It came with these 2 palettes in it. Oh my god, how big is this freaking lawn, honestly? It's gonna be bald. It's gonna be bald just like everyone who tried to cut their hair during the quarantine and failed. So they simply shaved it all off. Which is perfectly fine. I don't have any qualms with that. If I wasn't so chubs at the moment, I would probably cut off my hair too. But I'm a bit too chubs to look good with really short hair. I'm a bit too chubs to look good in many ways, but hair is always an issue. So I'm basically using the photo as reference, but I'm also just having fun with it. Might not add in there the weird orange or like the colors that to me don't look really tasty in a pie. I might just keep it blueberry because why not? Why not? But yeah. And I will probably come back with white gouache to work in the highlights because it's really hard to keep track of those while painting, I find. What about the Holbein tin palettes? I quite like those. I have a few. I don't know where I put them. I had them with me recently, but I did a lot of cleanup, so stuff has moved around. Hold on. Oh, not in there. This one? Nope. Ow. Oh. I have these. I would really... I need to check the big pans for the custom tins they have at Kramer, but they are so expensive. It's so pricey. It's like, wait, what? But yeah, the only thing that bothers me with those is that if the enamel is chipped on those, it will rust. And sometimes they come to you with chips in the enamel, and that's kind of unacceptable for the price point of these palettes. I don't think these two are too bad for that. But yeah, I mean, oh sorry, maybe you can see in this one in here, like there's something weird going on with that. I don't know if it's paint, glue or whatnot, but I have quite a few Holbein palettes and I'm really bothered. Like here there is another bit of a scratchy area that has a bit of a rust problem, which is absolutely unacceptable for the price point of these. Okay, lawnmower guy, fudge you. Pete's sake. I add a bunch of stickers on my tins usually. So yeah, hold on. I really like the palette Edith Landgraf. Enamel paints, they smell really strong if you like that's what I do usually. Like whenever I get a chipped enamel palette from Holbein, I have enamel paint in black, white, and the thinner to clean up a cheap brush. And that's what I would use. Where is my brush? Oh, there it is. Like, I will clean it up, leave it to dry, and then I will put a couple of layers of enamel paint on it. It stinks a lot when it's wet, but when it dries, it doesn't really smell of anything anymore. Is that guy mowing the whole street? That's what I'm thinking. It's either mowing or leaf blowers, our nemesis. Oh, I agree, Dominic. The limited edition Schminke set with the, you know, the super fancy wheel action, it's so expensive even when it's on sale. It's like so absurd. It's like $600 still. I'm like, ugh! It doesn't even look fun to use. Like, it feels like whenever you're gonna try to pick up a color, it's gonna tilt over. I'm missing out on all the links. Should I go check it out? I'll go check it out. Ah, fudgeroo. Why? Give me a hug, you. What? Oh. Ah, wait. Okay. Oh, that's myself right here. Well, I'm gonna drop myself down. Oh, that link. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I know these. I know these. The aluminum palettes. They have one that has 39 wells in it, which is quite epic. Those are aluminum with enamel, so they don't tend to rust. They're quite lighter too. The lead ones, lead? I don't think it's lead. It's steel. Sorry, the steel ones are quite expensive, quite heavy. I'd imagine it must be made of gold and silver aside. Yeah, maybe. Oh, thank you so much, Otto. Yeah, I saw the plastic box that Tori uses. It's really nice. And you won't be surprised to learn that I do have one of them somewhere in there. This is always what happens when I clean up. I can't find anything afterwards. But anyway, they're really quite nice. They're really, really nice. The like the 16 wells small palettes, they're really, really super nice. They're lightweight, they're plastic, they have a really decent mixing area. 16 wells is a really fair amount of paints that you can carry in there. Yeah, I think that one matches with Palo quite well. With the sort of mechanical, sciencey bit of it. I kind of wish that if they kind of make it something special, that it would have perhaps a different selection of colors. I think it has the exact same 12 colors than their standard 12 color set. And I mean, it's kind of a bummer, you know. If ever were to design a palette, good amount of wells and cats will be somehow involved, of course. it's a very complicated thing to find the proper palette, because there's so many things to take into account that you sort of realize as you try more and more palette, like how much space you have on your desk, or how many colors you like to use, or which surface do you prefer for mixing, what kind of brush you use, like big brush, small brush, the type of paper. There's quite a lot involved. A palette shaped like a cat, that would be cute. Did you guys see Steve Mitchell's palette that he made in collaboration with Wet Paint? And well, I don't think they kind of didn't know that much about it, but it features it features Daniel Smith colors. It looks like a really, really nice palette. A donut cat that can rotate. Hey, bye Francis, see you on Discord. I think I would really love to get one of those super fancy brass palettes at some point in the very distant future. I know, they have pans and that's not ideal, but I really like the idea of having something quite robust. I also think Steve's palettes look really nice. I saw Marty swatched it, and the colors in there are really lovely. Someone say cat palette? Oh. Now it's gonna eat me to not know what the link is. I'm gonna have to go check it. I guess that's my phone's way of telling me to go check it, right? Here, I'm gonna shut my screen down. Oh, yes. Yes, I saw that one. It's adorable. And yeah, I agree that the brass pans that Squirrel Bear shared on the Discord are yummy. I really love the cute cat palette. I was looking at it, but it's relatively expensive, and the shipping to Canada is just punch in the face gross. If you are on Etsy, there's a local seller that's named Kayo Benson. I think that's the name. It's Kayo Benson, Benson, and she makes they make handmade cute ceramic palettes that feature a lot of really, really cute critters. Oh, hey, Squirrel Bear, you're there. Were you lurking? Oh, you found her. Or them, I don't know. But Kyle Benson has really, really cute ceramics. I've been eyeing them forever. Like the teeny tiny cat ones, or the palettes and brush rests are so cute, so pretty. And to me, the other part of the appeal was that it's a local seller, so it doesn't have to travel too far to get to me. By local, I mean Canadian, because it kind of extends beyond just Montreal. But yeah. No dogs. Well, she might have some, but it kind of sells a lot. So she might have sold the dog ones. I always have to go back and add more favorites because they sell out quite easily. And I think it's more difficult with dogs because you have to figure out which breed you want to do a thing of. While if you do a cat, that's pretty generic. Just gotta do some pointy ears and you're done, you know. Well, dogs have a lot more different morphologies. I'm having ramen for lunch, by the way. Ooh, ramen. I was listening to someone the other day and they really pronounced it as if it was raw men. And it cracked me up. I was like, not quite the same thing, you know. Oh. My husband said ramen. Oh no. Ramen. Oh, that's a fancy one. I got some ramen. Ooh. You want a bite of that pie? You're way too kind. It's really fun to do though, that kind of studies. It's really it really frees the mind. So I will often just listen to a podcast and really focus on painting the thing rather than having to think of an idea and then having to think about how I want to render the idea. And it's a lot less mental work to do this kind of studies, which is what I find really nice of them. Would you guys like, if say I'm to do a similar thing next week, would you like me to find the pictures beforehand and like post them on Discord or share links to them, even if they are like on Pinterest or something, just so you can doodle along the same pictures? Is that something that would be interesting, or if you prefer to find your own pictures? Ramen is actually a different kind of noodles. Wait, what? Raw, man. Blech. There's a gorgeous little palette I want, but it's solid sterling silver. Costs literally twice my rent. Where is that? I'm curious to see. I think it was at the very beginning of my channel, so my memory of it is really, really hazy. But I have this memory of Schminke releasing a small tin for, 12 colors, the standard thing. But that was either either sterling silver plated or just sterling silver. And I don't think Jackson's got many of them, and they kind of sold out before I could really check out what it was about. It was really expensive too, but I haven't been able to find anything about it anymore. Maybe post a topic too, so we can have the choice. Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Oh, so is it an antique too, fairy dust? It's an antique pilot. Pie? It's kind of funny because lit is kind of a slang-ish word we use for ugly. Because the actual word for ugly in French is laid. And in lumberjack French, we often use lit. So pilette, it's kind of like ugly pie. I don't think this is an ugly pie, but it's still a pie, so it's still relevant. But yeah, I will try to post the topic and perhaps the images I plan on referencing next week if I do something similar. Could be quite fun to all do studies of food things. Is that? Oh, that's one of my hair. Boop. The 90s were the best. How old were you in the 90s, Dan? The silver palette is by Trigane. Just listed as silver pen box with silver brush and costs £895. That's a lot! An artist that does a lot of really yummy looking food paintings is Holly Exley. She's on YouTube and she's a freelance illustrator and she does really tasty looking food. The fashion, the tracksuit bottoms, the blocky colors. The 90s were so good and so bad at the same time. Yeah, pretty much like any other decade, really. I agree, Lise. It's more about, I think it's more about what age you are during a certain decade and what kind of impact it has had on a person that will possibly make it a good or a bad one. I don't think any decade is better or worse than any other. They're all bad. Oh, Lisa Frank. Oh my gosh. But yeah, see, let me think. I was a bit young in the 90s to fully grasp the energy of that decade. I would have had to be a tiny bit older to grasp it because I was a kid at the beginning of it and a late teen by the end of it, which makes sense, you know? So the second half of the 90s is perhaps a bit more prominent in my mind than the first half. I think to fully appreciate a decade, you have to be at least a teen when it starts, I think. Right now we live in the darkest timeline, but with very pretty schminky tins and handmade watercolor. The darkest timeline. No. Yeah, I mean, I have memories of being a kid in the 90s, like, but it's not quite the same because you don't really start sort of making your own decision before you reach teenagehood and whatever brain fart hormone thing that goes on during that period. So yeah, I remember being dressed in neon and having a stupid haircut and whatever during the early 90s, but it was not anything conscious. While the second half of it with the music and I was trying to, you know, figure out what kind of fashion, what kind of clothing I could feel good in, and you know, just the first part of it was not really about that. It was just like, I mean, you might try to do things, but ultimately your parents still have the the final word on whatever you do. While if you are sort of 13 and above, you're beginning to be a pain in the butt. So that's my take on it. Oh, Otto agrees. I'm not surprised. We tend to agree a lot. See, I agree. Same. Otto says, I don't remember much of the 80s, only what I've learned about the 80s once I grew up. I feel like that's sort of what happens if you are a kid during a certain period. Like, I don't remember much of the 80s at all because I was a kid or a baby for most of it. Like, I can see pictures of me at that time and I can see pictures of my parents at that time and it's going to inform what I know of the period, but it's not based on any emotional memories I have of that time. Oh yeah, the birth of grunge was great. I'm kind of bummed out that I was a bit too young to fully enjoy it. I remember I have a few memories of that time, but the full impact of grunge sort of happened to me later, and sadly after Kurt Cobain had died, which is a bit of a bummer. But yeah, like a scene that I feel was perhaps a bit more present for me was alternative music, because as far as I can remember, like the very first Radiohead album was in '93, or anyway, the first that sort of had an impact on me, and that means that I was perhaps just a bit on the edge of being old enough to grasp it. But yeah, then again, you know. What value things do we disagree on? I think chocolate and orange is the only thing we disagree on. Yeah, it's always certain food stuff that you are a lot more you experiment a lot more with certain meats, whereas I get queasy really easily. Oh yeah, coming of age with Nirvana, I mean, that's a blessing. Nirvana was cool, they basically killed rock. Perhaps it needed to die a bit to come back, you know? Especially if it was prog rock. If they killed prog rock, I'm okay with it. I will die on this battlefield, like, prog rock is evil. Oh, thank you so much for being here, Susan. Take care. I remember, like, I'm in Canada and in Quebec too, so French Canadian, so probably quite different to the American or the British experience, but we had sort of a version of MTV here too that was called Musique Plus, and I remember spending a lot of time watching that. And they would always have this sort of battle of the bands moment where it would throw out two music videos, and you could call in to vote for your favorite one, and then they would play that one, and it was things like Metallica, Nothing Else Matters, and you know that kind of. And I remember watching a lot of music video from that time because your options were limited. You didn't have YouTube, so you could either tune in on the sort of music-oriented channel on TV or open the radio, and the radio stations in Quebec were depressing. I mean, you either had the oldies, you had the sort of wannabe NPR stuff, you had the pop stuff, and you have the sort of rock station. But as a French Canadian, they were also required by law to play a lot of French Canadian content, which is absolutely gross. I'm sorry, this personal opinion, but I can't stand anything we do here. It's just so weird. It's not a nice. I mean, lumberjack French doesn't sound good in song, in my opinion. So I was just like, and I always wanted to switch radio channel whenever we would get to. You know, they had quotas, so there would be like between, I don't know, 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. it would be just almost exclusively French content, so that they could fill in their quotas and play the music people want to actually listen to, like the trendy stuff during the day, to have some sort of earnings from ads and all that. So yeah, so it was BYT before YouTube, yeah. So that was a thing. Nicole says, I think certain people just get nostalgic about being a kid. That's why styles always come back around. Why overalls are everywhere now. Because millennials are now 30-ish and are into 90s stuff. makes a lot of sense. Though I think millennials get a bad rap for no reason, in the sense that I think it's sort of mixed in with the impression people get from the 20-somethings. Because as far as I know, most people around my age, which are technically considered millennials, they're pretty low-key. And they're pretty just bummed out in general. Because it's like all our hopes got crushed. And yeah. Who remembers ringing up a phone number and paying loads of money to get a music video if your choice played on TV? Yeah, exactly. That was the thing. I was so terrified about calling because I was like, oh no, they're going to charge my parents. I think I called once, but I was always super hoping that it would be my favorite song that would win. Alright, I'm looking at this pie and I'm a bit not sure what else I need to put on there. I have memories spanning 6 decades. Oh yeah, exactly. It's definitely not all good. Oh gosh, by all means. Oh, Lise, I'm glad you agree. Lise says, yeah, people gotta lay off the poor millennials. Yeah, I'm a millennial too, and I think it's like we get a bad rap. People are like, "Oh, you go to Starbucks and you eat your avocado toast," and you're like all the people are angry at us, and you're like, it's not us you're angry at. This I think it's the generation like after us, the younger people, because good grief, most millennials I know, they're not quite that, appalling. Oh yeah, you put it perfectly well. Otto says, yeah, we all have bits of memories of our lives as small children. I think what Ev is talking about is the age at which you become aware of and get influenced by the culture of that time. That's exactly what I mean. Which is why I sort of don't really... I don't consider myself like that would, for me, that would be the period between like 95 and 2005 for me. So it's not exactly a decade. Like it's a bit after that. That says my husband is a millennial, but he's so old-fashioned. He was shocked that he was a millennial. And Otto's an honorary millennial, absolutely. Hey Lana, hi. Also, can we just take a moment to chill about the avocado toasts? It's one of the cheapest meal you can have. Like, come on. If you get avocado in season, it's like $2. And then you need a slice of bread that's like negligible in cost. And it's like people will eat steak that is much more expensive and rant about the fact that other people prefer to eat avocado toast. Like it's not expensive. It's not fancy. It's avocado, salt, and pepper. I mean, what? And oh, wait, hot pepper flakes if you're feeling fancy. It's just like it's the veggie version of a peanut butter sandwich almost, you know. I feel like everyone thinks millennials are rich, spoiled kids that get whatever they want by protesting. I don't know. I don't feel like that's I don't feel like that's a good representation of my generation in a way. Who is technically the millennial generation. I think the old ones who use millennials as a diminutive for young people. Yeah, I think that's it. They use the term millennial as a word for young people, but gotta keep in mind that we are in 2020 now. So we are a bit too late to to consider like People who were born on Y2K are adults now. So yeah, just chill. Hey, Okni, hi. My favorite sort of quote regarding millennials is that find me another generation that has had to go through 2 depressions and a pandemic before they reach 40. And I'm like, yeah, it doesn't make saving easy. And like, it's, I don't know, it's just weird. I think it's weird because everything you know from what, say, your parents told you is not really applicable. And like every experience that you get shared from other people is not useful, and you just have to figure it out on the spot, and you don't necessarily have that way to gauge whether something is a good idea or not. Oh, come on. Nicole says, yeah, everyone was complaining that the millennials were ruining quarantine by going to spring break. I'm 30 and own a house. I'm not going to a bar, let alone spring break. Yeah, I mean, those are the younger kids, like the ones who just got the legal drinking age, or like early 20s. That's not millennials. Millennials are old now. They have kids and houses and mortgage and cars to pay off. So yeah, not the same. Not the same. Millennial here. I've never eaten an avocado. I do. I hand in my badge next to the avocado. Oh no, Paulo, what? I mean, I've seen young folks called like people of my age boomers, and I'm like, wait, hold on, do you understand that boomer, like what it refers to and how unapplicable it is to the the generation you're using it for, because they weren't born after the war and there was not a baby boom. Oh, thank you so much, Lana. I'm glad. I'm fiddling with it. Probably shouldn't, but that's kind of what I'm experimenting with generally right now. It's like how much detail is fine and how much detail is too much. I need to take out the white gouache. Smashed avocado. I mean, there's no difference between smashed avocado and unsmashed avocado. It's the same thing. I mean, I will put avocado on toast. But it's usually not a meal that I prepare. It's usually like, oh, we have an avocado that's ripe and we have bread, so let's just combine them. Oh, thank you, Dan. Yeah, just let the white gouache re-wet a bit, so it's fairly opaque and not too transparent. Yeah, I'm with Lisa on that team. Just get me that avocado. Don't care in what state. I agree. It's really simple. It's just like, I mean, if you don't want to smash the avocado, you could just slice it and put it on bread. I mean, what's the difference at that point? Someone once referred to avocado as sweet butter from trees, and it stayed with me because it cracks me up. They're not entirely wrong, you know. That's a fair point. Smashing the avocado is mostly to keep it from sliding around. That's really true. Misha has a good point. Not gonna reply. I'm not gonna say that out loud, but I don't know what that word refers to, Okni. Doesn't sound too nice though. So the thing with white gouache, when you re-wet it, it's gonna go on fairly more opaque than it's gonna be in the end. So you might have to reapply it. Hey, Templemore! Whoa, it's been a while! How are you? That's a good point. Lana says, fact is that historically the let's start over. That historically the financial situation has changed dramatically over the last 60 years. from being able to feed a family with one income to barely being able to feed a family with two incomes. And also, I don't know, but I think the families 60 years ago were possibly generally a bit bigger than they are now. Just thinking about what my parents had in terms of siblings versus what my friends and I have in terms of siblings and all that. Oh, DINK stands for dual income, no kids. How is that a bad thing? I mean, it's just a personal choice. It's like, oh, you have dual income and no kids. And like, yeah, that's the choice I made. The end. Like, if you chose to have a kid, that's on you. That's not on me. All right, I need to stop fiddling with it. I only knew DINK as, you know, in Shrinky Dink, the kind of plastic you can draw on, then cook and it shrinks. Let's see if I can sort of paint that thingy from just memory, because I didn't base it on any kind of reference. And people have started earning money earlier. Not as many have studied at university. So the kids were out of the house earlier. Yeah, and a lot of job opportunities, like if I think back on my parents, it was really easy to land a job when they got on the to the age of needing to find one. Whereas nowadays it's not exactly easy to find a job, and most job will come with really sad salaries and benefits. Nicole says, a friend of mine said to me I should have millions of dollars lying around because I'm a dink. That's the context of what we were talking about. Oh, okay, I missed that. Wait, what? That makes no sense. Oh yeah, the standard of lifestyle that you expected to provide for your kids is crazily so much more than in his 60s. That's true, Otto. I mean, it's not even that far, that much of a generation gap, but like I remember when I was, I don't know, like 10, and now I see kids of that age with iPads and phones, and I mean, there are like hand me down from their parents, but I'm always a bit. It's a shock to me, because when I was a kid, it was a big deal to get the $100 cassette tape player. You know, that was a big deal, and the family had to pull together, and it was kind of a really huge thing. And I don't really see that now as much. For the same, you know, kind of demographic. Yeah, Peko is here, and she's still with us, and she's like, whenever I look at her, she's still a donut, but she's a donut that turns around and switches over. Yeah, it's a good timing, because their afternoon to them is almost always nap time. It's just that sometimes she decides that she wants to take her nap elsewhere, so I cannot really convince her to stay with us. But she's been really into that chair and blanket lately, so I was able to bank on that and and get her to stay with us today. She's a good kitty. There's the electronic devices, piano lessons, martial arts lessons, big birthday parties, massive Christmas gift lists, university funds. That's from Otto, by the way. People, I don't know, I think people had the music lessons, the martial arts, and the big birthday parties were something that happened too, like it was at McDonald's, or, you know, something along those lines, every once in a while. But, yeah, the massive gift lists and the electronic devices were two things that were absolutely not present when I was a kid. Oh, absolutely, I agree. Phoebe says, I also hate when people act like there's something wrong with a woman who chooses to keep her hair short. Yeah. It's a really good way to make someone mad. Why is your hair so short? Hey, why is your brain so small? Go away. My personal pet peeve is being told that something is not feminine enough. I'm like, you know what? Hey, Mallory! Hi! Oh, that's a good point. Amisha says, I think the expectations people have regarding providing stuff for their kids are out of control. It's not the stuff kids need, it's the parents themselves. Yeah, I don't see any real reason to give a kid an iPad or a phone. Oh, Eep. Okuni says, I know a 12-year-old who has taken flute for 3 years and she got an 18,000 USD flute for her birthday. Yeah, that's a bit, I mean, if someone takes flute because they really like it and they can sort of rent the instrument, I mean, sure, that's great, especially if the kid really likes it. But to buy the kid a gift of that size, that's a bit, I mean, the parents must be quite well off. Ooh. Who has the energy to cope with a 3-year-old every minute after working full day? No one. That's who. Maybe you should carry around the bonnet and put it on whenever anyone says that. If a word can be feminine for just being a word, then I can be feminine for just being alive. I mean, again, it's not someone else's... Like, it's not their jurisdiction. They don't have a say in that kind of stuff. It's a bit like the, you know, you should smile more. And you're like, yeah, you should shut up more. Oh, I can't with that nonsense. I have people in my circle who don't have... Oh, that's true. The 18,000 per year is in the scope of like salaries that exist. It's not... It's definitely on the poverty line or near it, but it's not something you give to a kid that's 12 years old. How can you even save up that amount of money, of extra cash, in that scope of time? Like, what? Oh my gosh, that's a professional flute. I took flute for a couple years and I cried when my parents bought me a 250 flute. $250 flute that was worse quality than the one I had been learning on from school. I cried because it was the best present I had ever got. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, how do you value things when it's not really... I mean, $18,000, that's just nonsense. It's so frustrating the things women are expected to live up to in society, and then there are some men who go off about how oppressed they are and how sexist women are. That's always an interesting situation, Phoebe. It's so hard not to roll eyes. Plus, trusting a 12-year-old with something so valuable. What if she lost it or damaged it? I know. I mean, when I was that age, a $100 acoustic guitar was a big deal, so I cannot for the life of me fathom what an $18,000 flute is like, unless the kid is like a prodigy genius and already playing concerts. "12-year-old flute genius, Yo-Yo Ma caliber. There are maybe 2 or 3 of them in the entire world." Is that the kid who got the flute? Are they particularly are they a genius in it? Like, is it their absolute, like, they're amazing at it, or is it just like, oh, you like it, here? So what day is it today? Is the 16th? Yeah, it is. Okay, let's do the fun. Oh yeah, you gotta insure a flute of that price range. I think pawn shops are a great place to find instruments. No, the kid with the flute is about as good as 3 years of lessons would get. Oh, that's depressing. Oh no, that's kind of a... I know I got my saxophone from a convention center that had a ton of instruments for sale. People live in 10 by 50 spaces. They're called trailers. Yeah, there's kind of a big gap here. I would say eat the rich, but I know that's kind of a tricky situation. I don't even remember what I got for my 12th birthday either. When was it? I don't know. I probably got the cassette / CD player I wanted. Because CDs were a new thing and semi-affordable, and I wanted my old cassette tape couldn't play them because it could only play old cassettes. Like half my house, but feel 10 by 50 feet is way bigger. Eating the rich will give you indigestion, you know. You are what you eat. That's a fair point. Sorry. This cracks me up. Oh, we need to talk about the happy things because this is depressing. Well, anyway, I think I'm gonna end the stream soon because it's kind of late. It's not as long as the other streams, but I think my allergies are bad today and my throat feels very sore. I think I got some VHS tape and some Barbie stuff. I'm pretty convinced that's around the time I got my music player. And I kept it for a solid like 8 years. I kept it until it broke down, which is, you know, not something that... Like, today things break down either because they are super cheaply made or because... Well, actually they don't break down. People just want the newest one. Which is also dumb. I'm just a bit tired. I'm fine. I'm not feeling awful, but I need to check on something. It's just that I'm not painting anything, so I don't know how interesting the stream is. And that I could of course find something else to paint. That's always possible. Okay. No, it's okay. It's not about bringing down, but it's just... I don't know. I never quite know what to say or how to deal with those things because it's such a complex situation. So I need to either find something else to draw or something else to do. Because I don't want the the video to... Mind you, there's always Pecco. Pecco is out, well, though she's not moving much, but she's always cute, so that's a thing. You can look in the corner and check out the cat. Let's find another thing to paint. Come on, phone. Come on, phone! What are you guys eating for dinner tonight? Or, well, whatever your next meal is. I guess. Ugh. I'm looking at food recipes, so if you hear me go bleh, it's because I have found something that didn't look good. Pickle is always cute. She's always a cutie pie. What if I Google cat pie? Is that gonna be... Oh my gosh, there are cat beds that are like in the shape of a pie. That's hilarious. Or is it? Or is it just... Is it? What's going on? Is it a cat bed? Is it an actual pie that cats were like, oh, it's warm? Or is it a Photoshop? It looks like a Photoshop. I saw that one. That one is really cute. I don't know if you can see it. But you kind of have this cat bed that's a pie shell and it comes with a couple of fruits in it. I think the guys at the Kitten Academy had one possibly at some point. Oh, thank you guys for all the links and moderating. I really appreciate it. Okay, I'm having buffalo spaghetti. What is that? I had porridge along with the rats. For dinner? I'm having kebabs with corn and rice. Ooh. I had exams and saw my students' faces. That's on it. That's not. Oh, that's the highlight. That's not the food, because I was like, that's not very edible. I had politically incorrect food and it was terrific. Oh wait, what's that? I don't know about next, but we just had pancakes cooked on our new cast iron griddle. Ooh. Tomorrow lunch will be bacon and pancakes. Ooh, wow. All the bacons. We you know, guys, I mentioned the service we are using to get our groceries, and they work with a bunch of local companies, and one of the local companies they work with is a company, like it's like a butcher kind of place. And last week I ordered some of their pancetta because I hadn't had pancetta in forever, since it's kind of difficult to find pancetta that doesn't have a bunch of extra salts and preservative in it. But they had a fairly decent, like they had pancetta that was just like smoked pancetta, and I made pasta with it, and it was really delicious. And yeah, that pancetta is like bacon. That's why I'm mentioning it. So ground buffalo meat. We occasionally get ground up buffalo. Oh, okay. So buffalo, like, because I know it's a flavoring. Like you can have buffalo wings or buffalo something, but you're talking about buffalo meat. Okay. I love having porridge for dinner. It feels like a treat. Breakfast for dinner is always a good idea. One of your villagers is called Penchetia? That's hilarious. They have some names for villagers that are really... Yeah, that's what I was... Like, I was just gonna ask, is she a pig? And yeah, she's a pig. And like, oh, that's like calling your pig bacon. That's a bit on the... That's a bit on the, you know, on the line there. I'm excited to start having villagers in Animal Crossing that are not ugly. They keep sending me ugly villagers and I just ignore them. Because I'm like, there's so many cats in that game. How come I get all the ugly, weird villagers that no one likes? What is garfish? Is that a type of fish? Oh my gosh, Panchetia the pig. It's a bit on the nose. Okay, let's draw this one. I think that's cute. I'm making pizza tonight. That's like getting a dog villager named Foie Gras. It would have to be a goose. Is that it? Goose. Inua. Yeah. Because I don't think it's ducks. Do they make foie gras from ducks, or is it just geese? I did that in Harvest Moon. I called my cow Big Mac. Oh my gosh. I don't think you really send them off, but you know, whenever you finally get a villager you don't like to leave, you don't get a say on who comes in next. And I feel like there's a way that people can send off their villagers, from what I've seen in the comments on on Twitter. Like I keep getting villagers. I don't know. I'm like, this game has like so many cats. Why am I not getting more cats? I want more cats, please. Aww. Otto says it's so cute. Husband is cleaning the gerbil cage and Ruby follows him around the cage. That's adorable. I tend to call all horses and ponies I meet boeuf. Is it like bœuf? Which means steak. Sounds a lot like, well, in French we use bœuf, which basically translates to cow meat in a way, or the dude cow. Yeah, I seen that same thing on Twitter, Paulo. Like villager is leaving my island. Anyone wants it? And I'm like, how do you even send like villagers along if you don't want them? And also, like, I much preferred if I had known, I wouldn't have accepted the first 3 villagers I met on islands in the beginning. I would have, like, waited until they were villagers I thought were interesting. Because now I'm stuck with, like, them and I'm like, oh, they're not super interesting. That's a bummer. Yes, it's basically the French word, so like bœuf. Which, funnily enough, in French is written that way. So whenever I see Chia Le Bouffe, I'm always confused, like, that's a confusing name when you're used to bœuf being written that way. I gotta dash and get things done today. Hey, have a good weekend, Tsukaboo. Thank you so much for staying by. Coming by. No, my brain. She had a beefcake. That's my take. Oh, that's a good one. Just do it. Do it. Do it. Sorry. He's a peculiar person with a very peculiar story. Who's watched internet historians' coverage of He Will Not Divide Us thing? I don't remember what that was about. What painting is everyone planning to do next? What are you planning to paint next, Otto? I want to know, because your last painting was really lovely. I'm actually playing a conceptual painting about sunlight. Ooh, that sounds yummy. It's really interesting to see what you guys have planned, and it always makes me happy to see just how I kind of want to say diverse we all are, but that's not exactly what I mean in a sense. It's more like how interesting the community is, because we all enjoy doing different stuff. Oh, Otto, I wanted to mention this because I think it's really interesting. You sent me the art assignment videos, and the lady who hosts the art assignment thingy is super kind, but do you find that she has terrible posture for filming? Like, I always feel like she leads her face with her chin. And like she's sort of slouching and has a weird posture, and I'm like, it kind of registers unconsciously, because I was like, why is my first reaction to this lady to be put off by her presence? And I'm like, I think it's just about the posture. It's scary to admit that I'm a conceptual artist more than other kind of artist, though. People don't get it as easily. Yes, she does. Oh my gosh, I'm glad you agree. It was bothering me so much. Like, I listened to the videos, but whenever I look and I see her with a weird posture that she leads with the chin, and I was always like, dude, straighten up, do something. Oh my gosh, poor lady. You're messing up your posture for this. She's John Green's wife. Who is John Green? John and Hank also kind of has that posture. Yeah, the kind of, perhaps that's an artist thing. Perhaps if I filmed my face, you would be like, you're doing the same. And I would be like, oh, sorry. Anyone has roses in AC? I can check. I really love conceptual art. That's what I kind of love the most of when I had art history classes, because I'm maybe not good at grasping on my own. Like, I perhaps need the rundown or the theme or the explanation or whatnot, but I find it really fascinating. Like, I love to look at it, and it's really interesting to see the result and try to think about how the artist came to that, you know. Like, there's always the example of the white painting on a white canvas, and it looks stupid. People, if you just say a guy is in a museum and all he did was paint a canvas white, people are gonna be like, modern art, but when I had art history classes, it was really interesting because at some point the teacher talked about that guy and talked about the process that the artist went through to reach that white on white painting, and how once that guy reached the white on white, he had reached sort of his mental objective in regard to this concept and moved on to something else. And that's the story that's interesting, you know. Whose channel is this? What do you mean, Mallory? I noticed she moves her head a lot when she talks, like she's leading with her head, but it didn't bother me. And she does this weird thing for wrinkling her upper lip across the lip. Yes, it's just weird. I'm always a bit like, come on, lady. John Green is a writer. Oh, okay. Fault with Our Stars. Him and Hank also run VidCon. Oh, really? Huh. Yeah, that's pie. And that's a cat pie. Oh no, they seem like lovely people, but it's just really weird how, like, I was like, I was sort of surprised that I picked up on the posture thing. But it absolutely doesn't, like, it has nothing to do with the person herself. She's super nice, but that was just weird to, like, I kind of wanted to yell at my screen, like, your posture, young lady. You know, that kind of nonsense. Oh. The roses, Paulo, Leaf sometimes has roses. Conceptual art is fascinating if you bother to take time to read about what the art is doing. That's exactly it. Although that I absolutely agree too. But that's the thing. That's the thing. That's the thing. It's that sometimes if you just see the artwork, it doesn't mean anything, you know. And it's perhaps difficult sometimes to find a proper person to talk to you about what the painting means, because if you stumble upon someone who is a bit more perhaps too highbrow about it, that's kind of not nice. Oh, the woman. It's the Art Assignment YouTube channel. Hey, Barbara, hi. It's nice to see you. How have you been? Oh, art history is amazing. I'm glad you're learning from them. I have to look in more details at their videos, because the only video I sort of watch from them is the one about the meeting in the middle thingy, and that's a bit too fartsy for me. Like that's a bit beyond my the realm of what I comprehend in art. It's just like it raises too many questions in my head in terms of like, how do you manage this? What's your schedule like? How do you earn enough money to do this? You know, it becomes a bit, I start focusing on too much on the practical side of it rather than the purely conceptual part of it, if you know what I mean. That's the kind of story I think makes for maybe an interesting comic book in terms of concept, you know. But in terms of actual thing, I was a bit like, oh my gosh, can you be any more fartsy than that? It's like top farts. It's a cat toy, actually. Look at that. Look at it's like a cat bed with stuffed pie crust and stuffed fruits, and your cat can sleep in there. That's just, I think that's awesome. It's too bad my cats are more the kind to ignore the stuff we buy for them most of the time rather than fully embrace it. Because how can you resist buying your cat a fruit pie bed? In art history, we learned about a terrible artist, but he had this crazy process. He'd sketch, then do sculpture, and do graffiti, but he'd rarely ever finish anything. Very high concept. Wish I remembered his name. Like even studying like the old masters or like all the religious paintings, there were always something really interesting. Sometimes I kept asking myself, like, as an example, you have a sort of religious themed painting, and in some places there's a white lily, and like the teacher would be like, this white lily here, this tiny little lily in the random corner, this represents the purity of this and that. And I was always curious, like, if I could meet that painter, I would definitely ask them if, like, is the lily intentional, or is it something you were just like, well, I want to put the flower there and it's going to be this lily. And then people like 200 years later were like, oh, this represents the pureness of the Virgin Mary and blah, blah, blah. And you're like how much are we reading into this and how much was intentional is basically my point. Yes. Letta says that earlier in the week she had a total brain fart and couldn't remember an artist's name. So Otto and we were playing Guess the Artist, and it was really funny because Otto was able to really describe the artist well and the kind of work, and I was like racking my brain. I was like, and then I realized at some point that it was entirely possible I had never heard of that artist, and I was like, oh no. So I think I googled like something really general based on what Otto has shared in terms of info, it was a very popular artist, so I googled like most popular artist of this genre or whatnot, and he was amongst the list, which helped, but it was really funny to try to figure it out. I feel like some people hide behind artsy-fartsy analysis because they can't be psychologically generous to an audience. That's possible. But yeah, that was always some themes are very obvious, like, oh, they painted a crown around this character's head, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, yeah, okay, that's definitely a crown, that's definitely where we're going with this. But there were always a couple of things that I was like, a bit suspicious of how much was intentional in here and how much was just like to put something pretty there instead of, just having a blank space. Barbara says, haha, my first baby, Azazel, was like that. He loved sticks. Freaking sticks. So a cat. Was more excited by a stick or a pine cone than the coolest cat toy ever. Or, another one that's really popular is a strip of paper. That's a good cat toy. Whenever I cut down paper, well, it's often Mr. E who has to cut down Bristol to be able to fit it in the printer. And whenever we have those strips of Bristol, we keep them. Not for swatching, not for, testing out stuff, but for the cats. Because they really enjoy, swatting the I don't know why, but they do really like those things. Sometimes I wish I would, I think art history classes are the ones I miss the most from school. Because it was really interesting to have this approach and have this insight into artwork, and it was a bit different. I mean, sure, there are some really figurative styles out there, but I think art history is it's super interesting when you get into really conceptual stuff, because you look at it, and I don't know about you guys, but I look at conceptual art and I'm often like, well, I love the colors, but what does it mean, What does it mean? And I never know. And then the teacher would sort of explain who the artist was, what led to them being this kind of artist and painting what they did. And it's always really interesting. And I think understanding art makes it a lot more approachable. regardless of what it is, even if it's this super realistic figurative stuff, as long as you get a chance to see what's inside the person's like process, how they think about it, it's super interesting. But yeah, there are some details sometimes that I look at, and I mean, when I draw, if I do a more complex scene, some things in the background I will put, say, as Easter eggs and be like, hee hee hee. But there will be things like, oh, this could use a plant, and I'm just gonna put a plant there, and it's just gonna be a plant, so it's not gonna have any meaning. So I wonder how much of that is present in all the paintings, or it could be all there for a reason, but yeah, the question is still in my mind all the time. One of our cats was in love with paper and the other cats hated the printer. That sounds like fun. Boba Fett loves tape. Kit Kat loves hoodie strings. Oh, hoodie strings are a great one too. Alta says, love learning about artists' life and their approach to art. What makes them tick, what thoughts they put into it. I adore conceptual art. When you understand it, it's like opening up a magical language. I agree. And yeah, we have the same feelings on conceptual art. Though, I gotta say, I find it difficult to enjoy it in a museum context. I think it's mostly the way museums are made that I find difficult, because they kind of expect you to walk around and pause and read a lot of text and then look at the painting, and I don't know, like I get caught up in that kind of way to go about it, but in itself, all the information about the paintings and all of that is really the best bit. Like, that's the most interesting part of the whole experience. So yeah, I don't often go into museum. I know I should go more, but there's kind of something that really doesn't... I'm not a very fidgety person, but I don't know why I get really... I think I get kind of uncomfortable in museums, so I just want to go out ASAP. Oh, I need to watch that. Otto says, if you want to learn about conceptual art, there's a great TV show called Who's Afraid of Conceptual Art by Dr. James Fox. Is that the guy who did the videos about the blue? Like ultramarine blue? Oh, I'm great. That's great. I'm glad. I mixed both bits. Oh my gosh, I'm glad you guys know how these live streams go, so I don't have to say that my brain is getting all tangled up. You just assume. Because, oh my gosh, I trip into my words a lot. But yeah, Otto says, yeah, me too. I prefer to see a TV program that shows you the artist and all the context around their work. I agree. That's a bit more like a class, you know. Where you sit and someone presents and explains and showcases the stuff. I don't know what it is about museums, but it's just... They feel a bit, to me, I would make the comparison between museums and, say, traveling in general. You can travel and go somewhere and follow, like, the tourist route of doing all the touristy things, you know, like take the bus tour that's like the, you know, the double-decker bus tour of the place, and do the cruise bit and do the this and that. And I feel like museums are a bit like that. You're sort of expected to walk around, look at the things, and then go away. I never felt like I could say I want to spend 2 hours in front of a painting. Well, I can't, and you cannot sit, you cannot do anything. Most of the time you can't even bring art supplies in there. I think you're only allowed, in most cases you're only allowed like paper and pencils. I don't think they let you bring around paint in museums. So it just feels like it's a bit as if it's not a very nice atmosphere to learn in, or to really what's the word I'm looking for? Come on, brain. You cannot really immerse yourself in it, I feel. You're sort of expected to take a look, be like, ooh, ah, nice, ooh, and then walk on and sort of forget about it, which is just weird. Yes, it's the Foxy Fox, mister. Sorry. Oh yeah, that too. Mallory says, I get overwhelmed in museums because I feel like I need to see everything. I've learned that if I go, I can only focus on 1 or 2 exhibits. Yeah, I agree. Because they expect you to switch from like 2 different themes really, really rapidly. Like one is about Egyptian mummies, and then the next one is gonna be about the story of television in Quebec. And you're like, there's absolutely no overlap between these 2 things, so that's a lot of energy that goes into taking all this in. It might really depend on the museum and the exhibit for the painting thing, but I've seen it in some places where they don't really, like, you can't take photographs, you can't paint, you can't, and you're like, okay, but so basically I pay whatever amount to just basically, like I said, you walk around, you go, ooh, ah, ooh, nice, ooh, that's so clever, and you go out and you're done. I think if it's like watercolor and you have a water brush, you don't have a container of liquid, I think might be easier to be okay with it, because you don't have any liquid that could sort of end up on a painting and mess things up. So maybe they would just think that you're using colored pencils or whatnot. I don't know how savvy they would be. That's what I would bring and try to do and see if they tell me off. And if they do, I would be like, meh. That's what people used to do to learn about art. They would go into museums and do master studies. So I've seen Hilma af Klint a lot lately. The name has been sort of everywhere. So I feel like that's something the universe is telling me to look into. There was a really interesting documentary in French about a French artist, an old lady. I think it was Otto who first mentioned the artist to me. And I was kind of bummed that the documentary was in French, because I was like, oh no, that means that I can't really send it to you. But it was super interesting. It was really very conceptual art, but like super into the mindset of the woman and what it meant for her. And it was a lot of fabric art, I think. Though when I see conceptual art, there's always a question in my mind that's like, how do they manage to do that? Like, where do they find the space? And like, it's very conceptual, but how do they showcase it? How is it something? Well, it's easier with internet now, I guess, but like, conceptual art can really happen sort of in a vacuum of a specific area, and then no one else really hears about it. I think it's interesting to, if you paint from afar, you can really focus on like the balance of color, the composition, contrast, and all of that. So that's always interesting. It's not a loss to do studies from afar. It's quite interesting always, but yeah, it's just. But there's like, you have to bring your folding bench, or I'm not sure every exhibit, like if there's a lot of people in an exhibit, they might not let you like just sit down somewhere to study something, and I just don't really know how. Was it about Louise, right? It might have been Louise Bourgeois. I think it was. It was a woman though, so Louis, like that, is a man's name in French. The female version is Louise with an E at the end. Oh, she has an exhibit at the Guggenheim. Okay, because Beam Paint, you know, the super awesome paint company that's made in the on Manitoulin Island here in Canada by a First Nation woman. I never know how to say this, but you guys know what I mean, you know. Denise has made a review of their paints recently. She has an Ilma af Klimt palette. That's where I first saw the name, and I was like, huh. And then I saw the name again in a couple places, and I was like, huh. And yeah, that's why it's been on my mind. That name has been a bit everywhere, so I guess that might be why, if she has an exhibit at the Guggenheim. Yeah, I think that's it. So, old lady sculpture, big spider. I feel like the museum atmosphere might be different here. Studies is very much encouraged, and the staff are often art enthusiasts, if not artists themselves. Which museum is that, Squirrel Bears? I really enjoyed the movie with Ryan Reynolds and Ellen Mirren about the lady in gold. Oh, something else to check. You know, Ev, you are hosting a stampeding art and food salon here. What? What am I doing? Yeah, I think my main issue with going into art history is that sometimes it's really easy to, someone will tell you something, and I've seen a lot of people do that. They'll be like, oh, you know, that artist, he did that for X reason. And I always want to go like, well, how do you know? Did you talk to them? Like, did you know the artist who died 200 years ago? So there's always a bit of a doubt, especially when it's negative stuff, because I'm like, negative stuff without context is just not, doesn't feel right. I am rambling a lot. The only pie I've ever eaten was pecan pie. Family was not big on pies, though I would love to try a good pie. I haven't made an effort, mostly because store-bought pies don't look that yummy, like grocery store, not bakery. And the bakeries don't always have fruit pies, and whenever they do, like, it's difficult to opt for fruit pies when there are so many things that look delicious in there. Like, how do you justify going for the pie rather than anything else? It looks amazing. Do you still find villagers on islands, Paulo? All I find is fruit trees and nonsense. Oh, is a Hamfrey a pig too? Has ham in name. Oh yeah, that's true. My sweater matches my paintbrush. It's a color, like, that's funny, we had this discussion, me and Mr. E earlier. I don't know why he was mentioning the color of my sweater, but he was like, is this a color you like? And I was like, You know, I kind of like all the colors. When it's for clothes, there are more the concern of whether color fits well with my my coloring, my personal coloring, because I'm really pale and have red hair, so usually all the pastel colors are not super interesting. If I mean, I love this shirt and I wear it at home, but I would perhaps switch for a different shirt if I was going to a social event or something. But yeah, it's definitely the same color as my brush. And not too far from my skin color either, so... Oh, it's a hamster, actually. Oh, interesting. I might make apple pie for hubby's birthday. Ooh. Yum, yum, yum. Do you put cinnamon in it? Love pecan pie too, but pecans are so expensive. They are. But I usually buy the pies pre-made. So I'm not rambling, I'm creating space on the journey. Oh, that's interesting, Okuni. Well, most darker colors work fine. A lot of people go to greens usually because I'm a redhead, but I kind of have blue eyes, so actually I think blues are possibly a better fit. But yeah, anything that's dark is usually a safer choice. When in doubt, I go for gray. Because I'm like, you can't go wrong with anything that's gray or black, but yeah. Of course I put cinnamon in it. I mean, I've seen so many apple things that don't have any cinnamon in it. Like the apple turnovers we get from the awesome bakery place. They're delicious. They're absolutely out of this world tasty. But they don't have cinnamon in them. And I'm always like, it reminds me that people don't like cinnamon. Some people don't. And I'm like, well, you should still put some in the turnovers and just tell them that it has cinnamon, and they will buy something else that's equally delicious. Like, cinnamon is so good. I've also taken to putting artificial vanilla flavor, like artificial vanilla essence in my Dalgona coffees, and it's delicious. Apple pie isn't apple pie without a ton of cinnamon. I agree. Dude. Cinnamon is for always. Cooking apples should just come with little sachets of cinnamon. That I agree. Oh man. It's like making applesauce and not putting any cinnamon in it. It's so weird. Something is missing. Oh, t'es bien cute, poulette. How adorable is this cat, honestly? Oh, I want to mention something that's really trivial, but that made me so happy yesterday. So we went to the one grocery store where we can find the trash bags we like for the kitchen bin, and I kind of did a quick walk around to see if there was anything else there that we were missing, and just while walking next to the fake cheese aisle, I checked just for kicks and giggles, and our favorite sort of fake cheese in terms of flavor that was supposedly discontinued is back. And I was like, what? What? They brought back the fake jalapeno Havarti cheese. So I bought a couple of bricks of it, and I'm super happy about it. The end. Who even does that? Applesauce with no cinnamon. Some people do. Like, my grandma really hates cinnamon. And I'm always like, what? Pico looks like a cinnamon bun with icing on it. She's doing a lot of lemming. She's gonna be all clean. She's so... we were cracking up the other day because they were both sitting in the sun. And whenever Pico is sitting in the sun, first of all, her sort of orange fur really, really pops out. But it also makes the white of her fur, like, too bright. So we joke that she's HDR, which, you know, this glowy white effect in film. And we also joke that it's the only occasion when we can see Scout, because she's so dark that usually all we see is a dark blob with eyes and teeth. But when she hits the sun, you can really see the orange on her fur, and it's beautiful. Oh yeah, cinnamon buns, I miss those. You know when you go to IKEA and they have the kind of counter where they have the fresh cinnamon buns? That's torture. Hey, thank you so much for being here, Elise. It's gonna end soon. Like, this is usually our closing time, and I'm just like fiddling around with this. It's mostly done. Oh yeah, oh my gosh, I love fake cheese. It's not like cheese. It's definitely like wannabe cheese because it doesn't melt the same way, it doesn't strings the same way. Like people should not expect it to be exactly like cheese. But in terms of product by itself, it's not bad. It's actually quite delicious. I know you're in Canada, right, Mallory? But if you have Daya cheese, the jalapeno Havarti is delicious. And we also have a brand now that's called Nefsikas, that is from Greece. And their fake Parmesan and fake mozzarella are really, really fun to eat. Yeah, IKEA has cinnamon buns. And yeah, the food counter has meatballs and lingonberry sauce. Bye, Lise. Take care. Why do we not have cinnamon buns in British IKEA? That's an excellent question. It's much closer to bring them to you over there than it is to bring them to here. Fake, like gross craft singles kind of shit. No, not like craft singles. I think is cheap cheese because it still has dairy in it, and it's still sort of like it's processed cheese. So whatever that means. But fake cheese. Oh, you were talking about processed cheese. Okay, so I'm talking about really fake cheese. Like actually fake cheese that is dairy free and usually vegan. I don't know if it's healthy, it's still fat and all of that. It doesn't have a lot of nutrition in it. Pardon, sorry. I know a lot of people who likes a Kraft singles on top of their burgers, so yeah. Alright, so I think that's gonna be it for today, guys. I thought IKEA could not open without the cinnamon. Oh no. Aww. So thank you guys for being here. Thank you so much for spending some time today with me and all of us. I hope you have a great weekend. Wash your hands. Take care. And I want to say a great big thank you to the moderators. Lise was there earlier but had to leave, so thank you. And Otto is still here, and as always, they are on top of things with the links and all the info, and I really appreciate that. So, I think Peko is done with her nap too, so the timing is good. So, thank you guys. We will see each other possibly next weekend. And, yeah, if you want to keep on chatting with us during the week, you can check out the Discord server. It's a place for chatting and just having fun and sharing pictures and all of that. So, by all means, if you aren't on there already, feel free to check it out. It's very easy to set up. So, thank you guys for being here. Yeah, hopefully things will pick up and I'll be able to post a bit more. But yeah, one thing at a time right now. So, in between that, take care. And do you want to say bye? Do you want to say bye to guys? Over here. Look. Bye bye. Bye bye, I'm a kitten. Pico, you're sweet. You are so sweet.